So this is part 2 of my video ranking the top 30 heavyweights as of January 19th, 2016. Clearly this is subject to change if you're watching this sometime after it was filmed. In the first part of the video I ranked 30 through to 22 inclusive. As I mentioned, I have to upload these videos in separate parts because I'm filming on an iPad which can't for some reason upload parts longer than 15 minutes, so apologies for that, but I'm going to crack on with number 21. Now number 21 will be again, and I keep saying this, sorry, but number 21 will be a controversial choice because this is another guy who I know is right at the top of many people's rankings. But as I said in my previous video, these rankings are based not on the eye test but on actual achievements and on the beating of ranked fighters. Now I had Joseph Parker at 22, so it's possibly no surprise that at a similar level, just slightly ahead at number 21, I have Anthony Joshua. You know, Anthony Joshua looks to be a very, very good fighter. He's progressing well and he's facing better level of opposition. But at this point, who are the three best people he's beaten? Well, it's Dillian Whyte, who's the best by miles, Kevin Johnson, who had descended sort of journeyman territory, and possibly Gary Cornish. Now, unfortunately, whilst I'm sure Joshua will continue to move up these rankings and be rated higher and higher and higher, I haven't been able to rank him in the top 20 at this stage because he hasn't mixed it with quite that level of calibre as some of the top 20 guys. Now that's not saying that guys like Parker and Joshua couldn't beat the top 20 guys, it's just saying that based on what they've done so far, they're not in the list. You know, Dillian Whyte, very, very good fighter, but unproven himself as a top level operator. Kevin Johnson, yeah, there would have been a time he was considered a more top level operator, but you know that had gone. By the time he fought Joshua, he'd been defeated several times, and yeah, whilst Joshua did it in very good fashion, a win over Kevin Johnson at that point didn't mean as much as it used to, even though it was impressive. So I've got Joshua at 21. Slightly behind number 20, who is Derek Chisora. Now, Chisora and Joshua, it was kind of difficult to decide which way to rank them. Obviously, Joshua looks to be the better fighter. Unlike Joshua, Chisora has several losses on his ledger. You know, lost to guys like Tyson Fury twice, Vitaly Klitschko, Robert Helenius, David Haye. And Chisora does definitely come up short at that top 5, top 10 level. Joshua may not. But what Chisora has got is a proven track record of beating higher level fighters at this stage than Anthony Joshua. Chisora, for example, has a win over Malik Scott. He had a win over Kevin Johnson at a time that Kevin Johnson was slightly fresher than when he fought Anthony Joshua. He had a win over Edmund Gerber, who's there or thereabouts in this. He's not in the top 30, but you know he's not a million miles off, etc. So that was one reason I decided, and I also thought Chisora's performances in defeat to high-level opponents was relatively impressive. He gave Robert Helenius an extremely close fight. He performed with immense credit in the Vitaly Klitschko loss. He gave David Haye a few problems despite being stopped. And I just thought Derek Chisora slightly edged it based on the level of the sport he's been operating at. Number 19, I've got Mike Perez. Now Mike Perez has become a less popular figure in the boxing public, but you know he did suffer a very, very bad defeat to Alexander Povetkin, and he's someone who has poor discipline outside of the ring and doesn't have the best sort of mentality and attitude towards training, obviously. But on his day, he's a seriously skilled operator. He scored a win, albeit in very tragic circumstances, over Magomed Abdussalamov, who at the time was a really, really highly rated prospect. He dropped a draw to Carlos Takam. Carlos Takam is a real operator. I actually slightly edged to Mike Perez in that fight. You know, I thought Perez had the better of it. He dropped a loss to Bryant Jennings in a fight that I myself scored as a draw. I thought Mike Perez was absolutely schooling Bryant Jennings in the first half of the fight. My point is, don't let the recent knockout totally write off Mike Perez. You know, this is a guy who has stamina problems, has training problems, but the form on his resume against Abdusalamov, against Takam, is actually fairly decent. And on his day, Mike Perez can go a lot higher than number 19 in the ratings. You know, he could be a top 10 fighter easily. It's all about attitude. At number 18, I've got Antonio Tarver. Now, Tarver hasn't done a lot as a heavyweight. His main success has been at the lower the lower weight classes, and that's why I've only got him ranked at 18. You know, a lot of other rankings, if you look at BoxRec, he's rated a lot higher than that. He's 18 for me by virtue of the draw with Steve Cunningham. Steve Cunningham's a very, very good yardstick, high level operator, and that was a very, very close fight. So by virtue of that, I've got him at 18. Number 17, I've got Robert Helenius. A hard guy to rank due to the inactivity, but he got a close decision against Derek Chisora. A recent fight against the unbeaten Franz Riel, where it was a tough fight, but he won with quite a bit in hand. Some further back performances against an aging Samuel Peter, Michael Sprott. You know, the point is the current Euro champion Robert Helenius, thereabouts. You know, he doesn't look unbeatable. He's yet to have the huge breakthrough fight, but as I say, I've got Derek Chisora at number 20, and Robert Helenius edged him. I know that was controversial, and Helenius has got some other dribs and jabs of form, so I think he's deserves his spot on number 17. At number 16, Steve Cunningham. You know, obviously, Steve Cunningham's got a lot of form that ties him very, very tightly with a number of heavyweights. You know, we've already had Adamek on the list. We've already had Tarver on the list. You know, he's been in very, very close fights with those sort of guys. And I understand he may be moving down to cruiserweight again. If that's the case, obviously he comes out of consideration. But I thought with some of his recent form, you know, with his he got a victory against Amir Mansour, didn't he? Dropped Tyson Fury in defeat there. Performed with immense credit against Glazkov, Adamek. I just felt that despite the fact he's got a few negative results on his record, the actual form of those results reads quite well, and he deserves to still be in the mix at number 16. I've edged him slightly by Tony Thompson. Now, Tony Thompson's a guy who's falling down the rankings. He's been in my heavyweight top 10 for the last couple of years, but recent form has started to dip. Tony's in his mid-40s now. He took a bad loss to Malik Scott last time out, where he was outboxed by Malik Scott, who isn't always the most convincing of operators. And as a result, he drops down to this ranking, which is number 15. But Tony Thompson's resume, even in the not too distant past, is it's fairly credible. We all know he gave Vladimir Klitschko some problems in their first fight, but I'm talking about the 2 wins over Odlaner Solis, the 2 wins over David Price. You know, both of those guys fell outside the top 30 for the purposes of these rankings, but those were both guys who were well inside the top 30 when they fought Tony Thompson. You know, and Thompson did a good job on both of them. You know, he stopped David Price twice. I think he outpointed Solis and stopped him once. He's obviously coming towards the end of his career now, and it's going to be difficult for him to get back up the rankings. But yeah, Tony Thompson still deserves to be in the mix based on that form. At number 14, quite a hard guy to rank, I've got Vyacheslav Glazkov. I had to kind of remove the Charles Martin fight because, I mean, how do you score that fight? How do you rate him off the back of that fight? So I've kind of looked at it before that. You know, Glazkov had the fight with Malik Scott, didn't he? Which was again very, very controversial. I think Glazkov scored the win in that fight, but most people thought that Malik Scott had actually done enough to be successful. So I'd say he's not a dissimilar level to Glazkov. He also had a win over Steve Cunningham. Obviously, that was another one of these controversial ones, and a win over Thomas Adamek. You know, so I was kind of looking at it. Glazkov's never been a fighter I warmed to, but wins over Cunningham, wins over Scott, wins over Adamek. Even if he's been unconvincing, with form like that in the record book, for me, he had to be in the conversation, and that's why I've got him at number 14 for now. I'm going to cut this video here now, and I'm going to film the next part coming up soon. So let me know if you've enjoyed this video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with the rankings. If you've enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.